Welcome to day one of 8 Lights for 8 Nights. We'll dedicate our learning today in memory of all of those victims who were brutally murdered yesterday in the attack in Sydney, and God willing, we'll also dedicate it in the honor of the complete refuah shalema, the complete healing of all those who were injured just yesterday. There's an interesting question that many people answer for themselves without even realizing it. We know that in the inclusion of our tefillot on the 8 days of Hanukkah, we insert the prayer of the Al Hanisim, the Al Haporkan, the Al Gvurot, the Al Teshuot, etc. We thank Hashem for the miracles, specifically the salvation that happened on these days, all those thousands of years ago. There is an additional letter, though, that in many Sidurim appears in the parentheses. It's for some, Ve Al Hanisim, and for others, just simply Al Hanisim, right? Either end on the miracles or just on the miracles. And there's an interesting question as to why it is an individual may or may not want to include the Vav. According to perhaps the more traditional perspective, the Vav is included. We do want to connect it very much so to the previous the continuity of all the statements that came before, right? It's included in the blessing of Modim, the blessing of Thanksgiving, and we list in the bracha many things that we are thankful for. V'al nishmotenu hapakurot lach, right? We thank God for our souls. V'al nisecha shebechol yumimanu, and we thank God for all of the miracles that He always does for us. V'al neflotecha, and for all the wonders. And in addition to all of those things, the Al Hanisim, for all the miracles that are specifically that which have occurred on this day, those thousands of years ago. That is the more classical way of understanding, and therefore many do use that extra vav, the vav hachibor, the connecting vav, in order to say, and this too we thank Hashem for. However, there is another perspective out there, and that is the perspective that's shared in the name of the Rokeach. And the explanation that is offered is that maybe we don't want to connect it to this continuity of statements of and thank you for this and thank you for that. Instead, some explain that maybe we want to connect it to the very last words that came right before it. And those are the words, Me olam kivinu lach. Forever we have our hope in you. And in essence, what we're saying is forever we have our hope in you. And then we continue, Al Hanisim, V'al Haporkan, V'al Gvurot, just like we have had our hope in you in the past, always Hashem, that you have done these miracles for us, that you have guided us, that you have saved us, that you have helped us, so too do we continue to have hope in you in the future. And therefore, perhaps we come to understand a really beautiful idea that can be seen in just this little letter Vav. If you include the Vav, it's because you want to connect it to the events of the past, saying, thank you, Hashem, for all that which you have done. If you don't include the Vav, perhaps it's almost an aspiration towards the future. God, I have hoped in you in the past, and you have been there for us. And so too, Hashem, I hope in you in the future. And so whether or not this beautiful idea should impact how a person says it, ultimately a person should say it however they've always been saying it, or however it's said in the shul that they consider themselves a member or a part of. But this idea, I think, is clear that we have to have both of these perspectives in our hearts and minds and souls, especially in a time that is so beautiful, but has begun in this year, in this time, with such atrocities for the Jewish community internationally by the attacks that took place yesterday in Sydney. We don't just thank Hashem for the past, but we have aspirations of hope for the future, that God will always be there for us. That doesn't mean that we understand why it is that certain things happen, but we always have the aspiration and hope for a better future. And so we hope and pray that with these next 8 days, 8 nights of Hanukkah, that Hashem should continue to allow us to be able to shine our lights into the world that will, God willing, totally eliminate all of the darkness around us. Wish everyone a happy first day of Hanukkah.